Hello and welcome to this edition of the GOP Rebuttal. I'm Sean Abbey reporting here from Beacon Hill, and today we'll be sitting down with State Representative Susan Gifford from the 2nd Plymouth District. We'll be asking her about the recent reforms that the legislature has taken up, as well as how Republican candidates can get elected in 2010. Representative Gifford, thank you for coming on the air with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. What we've been having all our guests for their first episode do is sort of give a quick bio to let the viewers know a little bit more about themselves and how they ended up coming here and representing them here on Beacon Hill.
Well, my story I think is a little interesting. As someone who had no political aspirations in my lifetime, I moved to Wareham full-time in 1996, and in a conversation with a friend in my neighborhood, it was in the newspaper, the local newspaper in the town of Wareham, that they were last day to take out papers for the Board of Selectmen was coming up, and that he said he thought I'd be a good selectman and why don't I consider running. Well, to make a long story short, I did, and I topped the ticket over two long-time residents, long-term serving incumbents. And then in 2000, I was tapped by then Governor Cellucci to come and meet with him up here at the State House, at which time he asked me to consider running for state representative. At the time, the 2nd Plymouth District was quite different. It stretched all the way down to Sandy Neck in East Sandwich. So yes, it has. And there was an incumbent in office, but I gave it my best shot and I walked away with 43% of the vote my first time out in 2000. And at that time, I was immediately asked by many people to please consider running again in 2002. And it just so happened that through the wonders of redistricting, the incumbent was moved farther down Cape, and my district was now the shape that it is: all of Carver, all of Wareham, and precincts 1, 2, and 3, which is half of the town of Bourne. So I ran again in 2000, and I was successful, and I've been here since and loved just about every minute of it.
Yeah. For a lot of people who aren't really into politics, and they sort of sitting there, well, maybe I could do that job. Maybe I could get involved. What would you say to those people?
I would say absolutely. Again, keeping in mind that before I ran for selectman, politics was, I won't say it was the farthest thing from my mind. I was a diligent voter. I always made a point to know what I was voting for when I went to the polls, but running for office had never entered my mind. And it's, if you feel strongly about something and you have a message to get out, then by all means do it, because I'm a perfect example of what can happen if you have a message that you think appeals to people, and if you don't like the way things are currently operating, do something about it. And running for political office is one of those things. It's not an easy thing. No one would ever tell you that it was easy, but it's hard work and dedication, and things can happen.
Things definitely happen. Now, getting to what's going on here in recent weeks, there's been this whole reform. We're going to reform transportation. We're going to reform pension. We're going to reform ethics. Has this been a constant theme since you've been up here on Beacon Hill, or if it's not, what has prompted this whole idea of we need to reform, and is it even real reform?
Well, first of all, to answer your question, has this always been in the forefront of Beacon Hill? Absolutely not. There are some things that we have tried in the past, and I think that Governor Romney's efforts to combine our transportation bureaucracies was a classic example of moving towards some real meaningful reform at the time. And I think that the one thing that I want to touch on is the issue with ethics reform. And first of all, there's such a mentality here that the more power you have, the more party dominance you have, the more longevity you have in this building, you basically develop the opinion that you are indestructible.
And they create the idea, the mentality that you're an institution that can't be taken down.
Exactly. And you see a lot of, yeah, there are rules, but nobody's going to care if I break the rules. So, and even if I get caught, what are they going to do? Big deal. So, the people of the Commonwealth, though, have just been deluged with example of impropriety after impropriety, and I think that it finally became time that you couldn't escape it, and it was becoming the norm and not the exception, and people needed to really buckle down and do something. Is it real reform? There are a couple of schools of thought to that, and I think my biggest issue is that the bills that we have passed, the transportation, ethics, and pension reform, don't go far enough. I think the ethics bill is probably the one that has the most teeth in it, but as far as transportation and certainly pension is just scratching the surface of everything that's wrong with the current system. And you've probably heard the phrase that we went after the low-hanging fruit, the things that were the most glaringly obvious. That's what we went after. But there are many more areas that we need to delve into, and I'm hopeful that we will continue to work on those issues and add to the reforms in coming sessions to make them more meaningful.
Susan, I wish you luck with that one. That's something I think we do deserve as the constituents of the state, with 3 speakers of the House again and again and again.
Yes,
And
senators, 2 senators,
yep.
and litany of other individuals, both in the legal field and in the lobbyist arena. So some serious indiscretions.
Yeah. And a lot of people are looking to the elections of 2010, sort of it's going to be the pinnacle of whether or not Republicans can sort of make a comeback. And we have a structure, we have a new state chairman for the Republican Party, and county boards are starting to pop up, like Plymouth County, who are trying to do the effort. With your experience in elected office from selectman and now state representative, what would you say to younger candidates, people like myself who are contemplating the idea of possibly running, and especially people running like Jeff Deal, who's running in, I believe it's the 7th Plymouth district?
Yes.
What would you say to individuals like him who are looking at this task of beating incumbents who have been in office for so long?
Well, first of all, given the political climate in the Commonwealth, this is a good time, probably one of the best times that we have had for anyone who might have been harboring an interest in running for political office. Definitely the time to do it. Again, it takes hard work, but it can be done. And I would encourage as many people as possible to take a look at who your reps and senators are. If you have county government, look at your county offices that are available. Because sometimes, stranger things have happened too. Plymouth County, a prime example, dominated by Democrats. And it's, the time is good for people to look to make a change. So I'd say definitely give it some serious consideration.
Well, thank you for coming on the air with us, and I hope you can come back again. We'll be here as the legislative schedule goes on.
Thank you very much again for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the GOP Rebuttal. For more information and videos, go to www.PlymouthCountyGOP.com. For Plymouth County GOP, I'm Sean Abbey. Thank you.